Welcome to everyone who has joined the session. In this session we'll have a couple of speakers, but before I pass the floor to Anne and to Bridget, I would like just first of all to say who I am and then explain a couple of things to the participants who are using this platform for the first time. My name is Maaike and I will be moderating this session today. So a couple of important points for everyone who has joined is that first you can select your language. If you look at the lower part of the interface, right about the middle of the page, you will see that it says your language. Right there you can select the language that you prefer. Then a second important point is that if you have any questions for the presenters, please put them in the chat. You can send them through in the language of your choice, so you can just use your mother tongue, and the chat can be found right below the image where you see me. Where it says enter your message here, you can just leave your questions or remarks as you will. We are not able to see you, and that is absolutely normal. We will only be able to see the presenters who take the floor. And if you encounter any technical issues, like an image that freezes or any other technical query that you might have, please click the question mark that is located on the lower left part of your interface. We have live assistance there. Trine, our colleague, will be happy to help you. So that is everything that I wanted to say now. So I would now like to pass the floor to Bridget for an introduction. Over to you, Bridget.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. My name is Bridget Burns, I should say. I am the director of the Women's Environment and Development Organization and also one of the co-focal points of the Women and Gender constituency. My colleague Anne is going to give you a bit of background about the constituency and our work and also the Gender Just Climate Solutions, but just to say our aim for this session is both to share with those who are on this call, but also to those who might not be able to join us, because we will have a recording of this after, to give a little bit of a verbal overview of what the Gender Just Climate Solutions are and to be able to answer any questions that you or others might have on who should apply, how do they apply, what do we consider a gender just climate solution. This is a really wonderful project that has been going on through the work of the Women and Gender constituency, through the leadership of groups like WECF for a few years now, quite a few years, and we are really hoping that we can continue to amplify the outreach of who is applying with their solutions and particularly ensure that we are reaching people across regions and across languages. So I'll also welcome for your feedback on how we can enhance that outreach as we move forward. But just a welcome from me and happy to pass over to Anne.
Hello everybody. So my name is Anne Barr. I am the coordinator for Gender and Climate Advocacy for WCECF. I am going to speak in French, but this is interpreted simultaneously into the other languages. Thank you very much to Brigitte for her introduction. And so I am now going to start the presentation for our constituency and then these gender and climate solutions. Therefore, I am now going to change the slide. I will do the presentation of right the way through, and then you can ask your questions at the end of this presentation. So, to begin with a few words about the constituency, Gender Climate, Women and Gender Constituency. This was founded in 2009 as an official observer to the process on climate, the Framework Agreement on Climate Change for the United Nations. In 2011, we were granted full observer constituency status, which gives us the opportunity to take part officially in all the COP and to speak at those meetings. In 2015, we launched the Just Climate Solutions Award Program for the first time. Its aim was to highlight solutions which have an impact on gender and on climate, and that is what I'm going to speak about today. So today our constituency, which began with six organizations from civil society, consists of 28 organizations from civil society across the entire world, which runs a network of more than 500 groups and networks and individuals from civil society addressing questions on gender and women in line with climate change. So what are our activities? These give access to speech and decision making for women. As you can understand, the Constituency for Women and Gender facilitates and governs training on advocacy and on the use of media skills and associated with media for women and feminist activists who are at the COP meetings and taking part in the climate change process, the negotiation process. We are also we are a communications pillar, we are a communications channel between the Secretariat and the representatives of civil society, and we coordinate the opportunities to speak and to take part in meetings. During the COP meetings, the Women and Gender constituency holds daily more meetings which provide information to all participants at the COP meetings and to all the organizations who from civil society who wish to have information on gender and climate questions. And of course we also work on advocacy. That is very important. This is done through the publication of position papers, documents, as well as submissions and contributions to the Secretariat to answer their requests for consultation, and through exhibitions, through documents, providing information and training, as well as through actions which we carry out during the COP meetings. And then, finally, we carry out important work within this constituency to promote and to amplify activities in the field which take into account gender aspects in their climate activities. And therefore, now moving to the description of this prize, as you've understood, it is good to promote this solution which are already implemented in the field today and which truly have a transformative action and, we can say transformational in terms of gender relations in the areas where they are implemented. Therefore, all of the candidacies which are taken into account are those which come from civil society in particular, and we open up the candidacies in June and July, generally the end of June, beginning of July every year for applications since the COP21 in 2015, and the deadline for submitting this application is the beginning of September. So these candidacies are then assessed by a jury, and these are peers from the constituency and by our partners, and then one winner is chosen in each category. And I will tell you about the 3 categories for the climate solutions, including addressing gender, which we have selected. There are also certain solutions nominated which form part of the selection which is closest to the finalists before the final selection, and these are promoted through a publication, and this publication is printed and distributed at the COP events and can also be accessed on our website, the Women and Gender Constituency site, as well as the sites of some members of our constituency, such as WECF. So, who can apply? This is generally NGOs and organizations who are part of civil society, who are our organizations in the fields. These are organizations who defend women's rights and act for gender equality. We accept candidacies from all groups of civil society who work on this topic. So what are the criteria which are identified for this prize? I may not read all of them because you can see there are a great many, but the most important for us is that amongst these solutions they ensure self-sufficiency, the sufficiency in terms of sustainable development, as well as the low use of natural resources. As well, this solution must contribute to climate adaptation. We prefer and want solutions which are decentralized, which are safe, are appropriate to the area and the target public, which are affordable and which are sustainable. These results need to be shared, which can be assessed and can then also be upscaled, developed and amplified. That is a very important, the ability to repeat them and upscale the project is a very important criterion for selection. Also, links can be built with peace, sustainable peace in the areas concerned, and also ensuring the limited resource of resources, sustainable use of resources, and health, for example. These are key points. And of course, the criteria which address the equality between genders, between the sexes, through the projects. And for these projects not to add an additional workload to the women concerned, and for them to be a source of empowerment rather, and for these projects to enable access to decision making by the women concerned, and for those local communities of course as well, and for these also to promote women's rights and their participation. So here are some key figures which identify this prize. Last year we had more than 145 applicants, which came from 70 countries, and we chose 3 winners. Every year we choose 3 winners. So here are some examples of the winners from 2016. So one in Morocco for a technical solution, one from Indonesia for a non-technical solution with a more social value, and a solution from Senegal which addressed transformational solutions. The transformational solutions, we didn't perhaps explain this enough, but these are solutions which enable a transformation of non-egalitarian relations between men and women and transform and serve to contribute to the development methods in the area or the country in question. So here are some elements to describe to enable you to understand better the sorts of solutions we are looking for and wish to promote. So for example, the project in Morocco This was the implementation of solutions in a biosphere, in a protected biosphere, Arganorel, the Argonne forest. The were women who implemented these solutions in local communities through schools and cooperatives in the Argonne forest. And these are local solutions, therefore, with an economic development method which took into account equality of sexes with the implementation of these solar solutions through energy cooperatives directed by women. In Indonesia, we selected a project in 2016 whose aim was to strengthen decision-making by women in terms of the use of water, the collection of drinking water, and the use and management of wastewater. This was a project which also was community-based, with the women in small groups and associations with a participatory structure, democratic structure, and interacting with the local authorities to select the best, most appropriate solutions to manage water. And finally, the winner for the prize in 2016 in the transformational category is an organization in Senegal, and this solution enabled us to promote the work done by women to restore the mangroves in the Saloum area. And we were delighted that this winner is present today, so we will give her the opportunity to describe her product in detail and its transformational impact as well. So I'm also going to give you some information relating to the media contributions of this prize. As you have understood, the winners are invited to present this project at the COP meeting. So we invite the winners, the gender and climate winners, to come to take part in COP and to present their projects during an official ceremony where a minister or several ministers of the environment, women's rights, depending on specific years, hand over the prize in person to the prize winner. And this is also a ceremony to which we invite representatives, delegations from the different states in order to inspire the political decision makers with solutions which are different from those they are used to seeing and are true field-based solutions. We also have exhibitions at the Women and Gender Constituency stand during the COP, and you can see here photos of this stand, particularly in Marrakesh in 2016, along with work which is carried out with the media in order to highlight, promote the visibility to a large audience from the press, from television, and we also work with social networks, and in previous years we have had more than 20 million hits across these social networks, so 20 million people who have been informed about this prize and have been able to read information about the prize, so a great deal of media visibility overall. I would also like, before giving you all of the details on how to put in your candidacy, your application, another key element is the invitation to the COP. In addition to a donation of €2,000 given to each winner, there is also a mentoring scheme for an entire year which we give to our winners. This is support to enable them to develop their solution further, to scale it up, to enable it to be known by the political leaders in their country in order for this initiative to be able to contribute in a significant manner to the climate policy of their country. And this work is extremely important, and I can tell you that since WECF coordinates this work, this is part of my responsibility, and I can say that we have already invited since 2017 all our winners, and not only the winners from the year in question, but also winners from previous years. We invite them to come back every year to the COP and to take part in mentoring and training where they can understand how these mechanisms work, and in particular the financial mechanisms and the technological transfers for climate change, as well as how to integrate them in these mechanisms and in order to receive financial and technical support to develop their solutions. That is something we consider very important, and this is amongst the priorities in the development of these awards. So we have a network of 15 award winners who know each other and have met each other over different years and who work together and can communicate together on their challenges and the ways in which they resolve their problems. So, to summarize, to make your application, you can follow the links which you can see on this slide. So you can do this either in English or in French or in Spanish. In these three languages, it is completely possible to do it in these. You need to do this before the 9th of September, 5 p.m. New York time. What do you need to prepare? We have ensured that these applications are as accessible and as easy as possible. So what you need is to create your profile online. That's quick. Simply give the name of your project and organization and your own name, as well as information of an administrative nature. And then once you have created your profile, you can go into the form itself where you will be asked to state and provide the details of your project. In other words, its main goals, who are the beneficiaries. It is important to give figures, so the number of beneficiaries, and clearly their ages, their gender is very important as well. If you have those details, you need also to be able to give us measurable results, as well as being able to provide calculated impact figures on the impact, so measurable results on women's rights and on climate change. As I have already told you, the ability to scale this up to regional and national level, as well as the ability to achieve other goals, which are to build peace, develop peace, or a better use of natural resources to answer food security or health security, as well as giving us precise figures on the finance that you received today for this initiative and your budget and the way in which you wish to use the donation which you receive if you win. And finally, a very important point which you must not forget is to provide high quality photos. It's useful to be able to illustrate your solution with photos having good high resolution, 1 megabyte minimum, as well as your organization's logo and the logos of your sponsors if you have people who are supporting you already.
Alors c'est tout pour la présentation. So that's it for the presentation. I'm ready to answer your question now. Thank you for your attention.
Can write their questions in the general chat. Bridget, I see that you want to move to Fatou, but it appears that she got disconnected due to a connectivity issue. But I'm working with her via the phone to get her reconnected. So just wanted to tell participants again, if you have any questions, please drop them down here in the chat so that we can read them. And in the meantime, I will try and solve the issue with Fatou. And I will come back to you now, Bridget.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to add a few things on to Anne's excellent overview. I think, so part of there's two pieces that I think are really important in emphasizing the fact that although there is a monetary prize that comes as part of the awards, we very much see the mentorship, the media outreach, and being part of the network as really some of the most critical pieces to the Gender Just Climate Solutions Awards. And one of the reasons why we founded these awards was this feeling and this experience that in a lot of the climate spaces where projects and solutions are being put forward, that we don't see the types of solutions we know that particularly women's groups that we work with are leading on, whether they're in relation to seed saving and agroecology, water saving, or cooperative models, that there was really a lack of spaces where these solutions were being promoted and where they were being given the opportunity to really reach scale. So one of the goals of hosting this information session, being able to have this recorded, is to really encourage people to think about the projects they're working on and how they are gender just climate solutions, and to submit them as part of this, to be part of this broad network, to create really a new narrative on what climate solutions look like and how they can center gender equality as part of them. So I see that there are now a few questions. Maybe I will just read them out and pass back over to Anne, and then I know we have Fatou on the line as well. So we have a question about defining the date of the award, and I assume that that's the award ceremony at COP25. Are individuals who work on projects which work with national and local governments and policymakers eligible? That's a great question, Laura. And for those who apply but are not selected, could you share more on the runners-up piece? And I just, on that piece, before passing back to Anne, anyone who is a runner-up is included as part of the large-scale publication that gets put forward and is part of the website of solutions that are shared online. And we are working towards a mailing list now with all people who have been either a winner or part of the publication, in order to really provide a platform for sharing opportunities where they could maybe apply again to other spaces for opportunities to scale or opportunities to showcase their projects. But let me pass back to Anne for those other specific questions.
Bridget, et merci à vous pour les...
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you for your questions. So, individuals need to present their projects, to introduce their projects in the name of an organization. But the prize is not open to public entities, to government entities, because when we developed the prize, it was specifically for civil society organizations, which usually don't get to enjoy as much support, especially on the field in the different countries. So to answer your question, the prize is not open to local government, national government, but if it's an individual who works in such an organization and the project is supported by an NGO, civil society organization, well, then we can accept the application. When it comes to showing the nominees, the runner-ups and the winners, well, not the winners, the runner-ups, then for each category we showcase between 5 and 7 projects which all enjoy a full page of description and pictures in our publication during the COP meetings. So these publications are seen by government leaders or representatives of UN agencies or international institutions or CNUC institutions, and the public is even wider thanks to the publication of this document on the websites, as I was saying. And you can have a look either on the Women and Gender Constituency website or the WCF.org website. You can find the digital versions of the publications I told you about with the projects that are being showcased there. I hope I've answered your question. If it's the case, if there are no other questions, I think we can let Fatou tell us about her experience. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. Fatou Ndoye. I work in Senegal for an NGO called Endagra Sahel. We work in action, research and training. I would like to give you my testimony of the work we are doing in the framework of a project that we had to develop in a river delta in Senegal, which is very rich in biodiversity, and the western central part of Senegal. And this is an area that represents 2% of the national territory, and women as well as men work. Men work mainly in fisheries, while women work mainly in shellfish collection. And we also need to say that in this area, it's a mangrove-rich area with high biodiversity, but we've noticed that during the last few years, with lack of rain and sea rise, we're facing difficulties because the agriculture yields are not as efficient in coastal areas. So this has created a situation of high pressure on resources. And we can see the consequences of climate change, which have put a lot of pressure on our resources, and the population's possibilities are reduced, especially women are more and more vulnerable. So our mission is to accompany, support, to assist women with the population with their difficulty, especially women. And for this project, the aim was to combine preservation of resources and assistance to the population. So we had to understand the current state of resources, but also the relations between men and women, gender relations, and the initiatives that were being developed. And we've had the occasion to implement solutions in collaboration with the population in order to reinforce exploitation systems, to reinforce long-lasting, sustainable systems to preserve the mangrove, which is being degraded, unfortunately. And also we insisted on a participatory research action in order to preserve the environment. And in this project we tried to work on the issues of gender equality, because we are in an area where women work a lot. We work on calendars and compared the amount of work, the women's input in terms of work. When you look at the calendar, women work a lot more than men, and so we need to raise awareness on this issue as well. We worked on reinforcing, on the building capacity in terms of training, in order for men, women as well as men, to take part in decision making. So we applied in 2016, and we won the prize. And when we received the funds, we launched another initiative that we called Furno Revolving, because, as you know, our ecosystem is very fragile. Women still use wood and from the mangroves to cook, and we worked with local craftsmen to build solar stoves to reduce the pressure on the local resources. So we used the money to buy stoves and to renew the stock. So I can say that what was really interesting for us was that thanks to our prize, we can see that our project was recognized more and more, and was and gained in terms of visibility and recognition. So I can really say that the prize brought that to us. And I can also say that we also had the possibility to showcase our project during the COP meeting. So, but mostly this project gave us access to a network with contacts with local authorities, and we are often actually invited to take part in meetings with local authorities as well. So what needs to be said as well is that we will need, when it comes to climate and gender, there's always something at stake, because we are in difficult locations where women work at sea with poor quality boats, and they are at risk actually, so they need assistance. And we can also see that that the environmental activities are in the hands of women. They actually have some of their work which is not paid. So a large part of their work is unpaid, especially the one that has an impact on the environment. So, and we know that more and more the question of the climate is an issue that needs the attention of the youngest generation. So we need to work in schools with young children in order to raise awareness and make sure that they understand the issue, and we have the population support thanks to that. I don't know if I've answered your questions, but I've given a few elements. So this is what we received, this is what we do, and thank you very much for your attention.
I have two requests for the floor. First one is Bridget, second one is Anne. So over to you, Bridget.
Thank you so much. So I really appreciated the input from you, Fatou, and I think hopefully that helped to illustrate for many of you what some of the solutions might look like. I wanted to come back to some of the questions. I see that Anne has put in the information on the date of the award ceremony, which, as said here, we usually have in the second week of the COP. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's likely that that would take place in the second week of the COP. And then on the question of who can apply from Laura, I believe your question was about whether if the project itself is being done by an individual, but it happens to be in partnership with a local government or a national government, if it's still eligible. And that's a really great question, because it's the type of question that comes up in the jury selection as well, in looking through whether the project is in need of support and mentorship to scale, or if it has an enabling environment already where it is put to scale. I would say that the jury tries to follow a set of criteria, but also look at, we know in certain contexts that it makes sense a project would be led by a women's group, for example, but perhaps in partnership with a local government, and so that wouldn't be automatically ineligible. But certainly if there's a project that already has maybe gotten to a large scale or has reached a significant amount of resources, or is being underpinned, for example, by a large UN agency, then those are the types of things that would be taken into consideration from a jury selection perspective, because the aim really is at highlighting those solutions that are not being given the platform and that really benefit from the access to a network and mentorship, etc. But all of that to say, I think that we don't want to discourage people from applying if they have a project that seems like it meets this criteria, the broad set of criteria of both advancing women's human rights as well as the sustainability criteria and the cross-cutting and scalability pieces that have been put forward. So I think we're almost at the end of this overview, and if we want to pass back to Anne for any closing thoughts, that would be excellent.
Pour Bridget, et merci d'avoir organisé.
Yes, thank you very much, Brigitte, and thank you for holding this seminar, this webinar, which gave us the opportunity to explain what we are looking for. I would also like to state that, since I have seen questions by email as well about the types of solutions, we are truly focusing on solutions which have a tangible impact in the field. And so I would say that these are activities which have as their aim to be able to show through a film or through a publication on policies or actions which aren't the implementation, strictly speaking, of this, and which don't answer the criteria specifically for this prize, since it is really important for us to be able to prove an impact on climate and the social impact of these solutions, as well as being able to move these solutions up a level. I would like to thank you for all of your contributions. What you have heard shows clearly that FATU's initiative in Senegal has had a true impact and has a tangible answer to the challenges linked to climate change, which have hit the Salou Delta, along with the impact on the mangroves and the repopulation of the mollusks, as well as, since these are natural reserves which are truly threatened by climate change, as well as providing strong answers to the social challenges linked to gender, since this project enabled women to enter into decision-making bodies regulating fisheries, and so women entered decision-making bodies which were strictly masculine prior to that. So this has a transformational impact, as well, and the project worked on the distribution of tasks between men and women within households and within communities to provide summaries on this solution, and we are still working on those who have won prizes related to climate, as well as Canuck bodies such as the Climate Technology Center, in order to ramp up these solutions, and in particular this solution we have seen from Senegal. So thank you for your attention. I think that I have covered all points I wished to raise, and if you do not have any further questions, we can close this webinar, which will be available later online. So over to you, Micah.
Thank you very much. Anne, I don't know, Bridget, do you have any closing comments that you would like to make, or should we end the session now? Okay, so let's end the session now. Thank you everyone for joining and for your questions. Thank you very much to the interpreters, and we hope to see you back soon. Have a lovely day. Thank you. The link will be sent out shortly. Thank you very much.